What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Baseball HQ. I'm your host, Dakota Moyer, and we are back with another episode, again, talking about a lot of free agents, but we're also going to get into some recent news around baseball today. Glad to be back with you. I'm the only one who can make it today. A lot of people had other stuff to do. Things ran up with Nolan, but before we get started, don't forget to leave us 5-star review, drop a comment. We'd love to hear what you think. Be sure to find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube, or wherever you find your podcasts. Look us up. Contact us at baseballhqpodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you, see what you think about the show and what you think we should talk about. We'd love to talk about those things. So we're getting back into some free agent news. A lot of the major free agent pieces haven't fallen. Kyle Tucker, Bo Bichette, Framber Valdez, Cody Bellinger are still out there. But there have been a lot of recent signings. We recently talked about Japanese player Munetaka Murakami signing, as well as a bunch of recent trades. But another Japanese player has found a home. And you'll remember us talking about the Japanese phenom rookie Tatsuya Imai coming over from Japan. Nolan and I made some predictions about where he would land a couple weeks ago, and we were both completely wrong. He has decided out of nowhere to sign a 3-year, $54 million deal with the Astros. Now, Tatsuya Imai, absolute rookie, phenom. He's going to do well wherever he goes, but very surprised to find him landing with the Astros. His contract involves opt-outs after 2026 and 2027 in case Houston doesn't work out for him. But all of these Japanese players so far have been signing low money contracts. Munetaka Murakami only got 30 or 40 million. Another player that we're going to talk about in a second only got 40 million. But Tatsuya Imai is now a Houston Astro, and what better way to fulfill his promise to want to beat the Los Angeles Dodgers than to sign with the Houston Astros for those Dodgers and Astros fans that catch my drift there. But Tatsuya Imai, welcome to the MLB. We will have to see how he does, how that sub-1 ERA in Japan translates over to the MLB. Another Japanese player, Kazuma Okamoto. We talked about him a while ago. All-around utility and contact, power, just all-around really good baseball player. Came over to the MLB this offseason. He signed a 4-year deal with the Toronto Blue Jays for $60 million. Kazuma Okamoto played in the World Baseball Classic a couple years ago in that championship game, hit a solo homer off Kyle Freeland. Kazuma Okamoto, just really solid contact, hits above 300. He might hit you 20, 30 homers a year, drive in 80 to 100. Kazuma Okamoto really adds a lot of power into that Toronto lineup. That includes George Springer, Vladdy Jr., and could potentially include Kyle Tucker as well if the recent rumors come to fruition. But at this current point, Kazuma Okamoto slots in as the Toronto Blue Jays third baseman, which would shift Ernie Clement over to second base and set up the infield with Vladdy at first, Ernie Clement at second, Andres Jimenez at short, and Kazuma Okamoto at third. But that lineup and this team, the Blue Jays have already gotten much better with the addition of the pitchers and now Kazuma Okamoto that they have added this offseason. Cubs and Marlins made a trade. For years we've been hearing Edward Cabrera is going to be traded. Well, that has finally happened. He has been traded to an unlikely source, a source that was pursuing him, but not one that we thought he would go to. The Marlins have traded Edward Cabrera to the Chicago Cubs in exchange for 3 prospects. Edward Cabrera finished 2025 with an 8-7 record, a 3.53 ERA, 150 strikeouts in 102 innings pitched. Slots into that rotation along with Matthew Boyd, Cade Horton, Shota Imanaga, and Jameson Taillon. Maybe Javier Assad, but more than likely, probably not. But then the Marlins, in exchange, got Chicago Cubs' number 1 prospect, Owen Casey, Chicago's number 11 prospect, infielder Christian Hernandez, and third baseman Edgardo De Leon. Owen Casey, the crown jewel of what the Marlins got back. Owen Casey didn't really get a lot of playing time due to the crowded outfield and the Cubs trying to make a playoff push. Owen Casey was getting overshadowed by Pete Crow Armstrong, Ian Happ, Seiya Suzuki, and Willie Castro players who had a lot more experience and trying to get to a playoffs. But Owen Casey now is in Miami, and he can fit into that outfield, probably in right field, to slot in with Kyle Stowers in that lineup. And the Marlins already are looking a lot better with Owen Casey, along with 2 infield prospects that they received from the Chicago Cubs. A lot of recent non-free agent news. Don Mattingly, we talked about him a while ago, talked about him going to the World Series with the Blue Jays, something that he had never done. He had never won a World Series in all his time at the Yankees as their first baseman. So we discussed him going to the World Series with the Blue Jays as the Blue Jays bench coach. And finally, it seemed like everything was lining up for Don Mattingly, for Donnie Baseball, to finally win his first World Series. But then Game 7 happened, and we all know what happened there. A sad image of Bo Bichette coming up to Don Mattingly after World Series Game 7 and just giving him a hug as Don Mattingly stared on the field as the Dodgers celebrated their victory. But Don Mattingly now has signed as the Phillies bench coach. Adds a lot of depth, or not depth, adds a lot of experience, a lot of veteran knowledge to add to that team, who has a lot of veterans, but is still a very incomplete team in the Philadelphia Phillies, and he will serve as Rob Thompson's man to go to. And Don Mattingly does have experience as a manager. If Rob Thompson has to leave the game or has to be ejected or cannot make it, Don Mattingly has a lot of experience. And he can fill in for Rob Thompson very easily. But Don Mattingly, good to see him still in baseball. Some thought that he would be a manager, but good to see him still in baseball and good to see that teams still value someone of his caliber. The Tigers could make history. No team since the mid to late 1980s has entered a season with 3 pitchers that have recorded 20 or more saves in the previous season. Well, 2026 is that year, as the Detroit Tigers now have Kenley Jansen, Kyle Finnegan, and Will Vest in their bullpen with AJ Hinch managing. He now has 3 options that he can go to in his bullpen that could be a 9th inning option. Now, with more experience, I feel like Kenley Jansen would probably be that main option, seeing that he is 24 saves away from 500 saves, and also he's the veteran option. Even at 38, still finished with a sub-3 ERA last year as the Angels closer. Really excelled there. Will Vest showed a lot of promise this year, helping to take Detroit to the postseason. And then Kyle Finnegan, all-star with the Washington Nationals, if not the best, one of the best closers in the game throughout these last couple years, always consistent and reliable. And he and the Detroit Tigers now have that 3-headed bullpen monster that they can use. Kenley Jansen can come in the 9th. Will Vest can come in the 6th with bases loaded, no outs, or runners on the corners, 2 outs, or Kyle Finnegan can fill in the innings in between leading into Kenley Jansen. There's an endless amount of possibilities that you can have, but this bullpen is looking a lot better with those 3 as your closers, as aside to Tommy Kahnle, who they signed this previous offseason. Here was a big one. Max Kepler, former Minnesota Twins outfielder from Germany, signed a free agent deal with the Philadelphia Phillies these past offseason. Really came in and really established himself as a solid, consistent, and reliable hitter in that lineup. He is a free agent this offseason, but it will probably be a while before he finds a team, as he has been suspended for 80 games for testing positive for steroids. He tested positive for a steroid that had been banned by MLB a while back. And it's unfortunate. Max Kepler would have found himself either back with the Phillies or with another contender with a solid deal. But now, more than likely, teams are going to wait to spend that money, maybe until mid-season or maybe until just next off-season, to find a home for Max Kepler due to this PED suspension. Phillies and a lot of players got there have been a lot of suspensions recently. Jurickson Profar in the Braves, Jose Alvarado and the Phillies. That's we know that steroids help the game, but they help players perform better than they usually do. But it's in the long run they don't perform, because if they get caught, they don't play. So steroids just kills a player's season could even kill a career. And Max Kepler has been caught with steroids. A big piece of news recently. There have been trade rumors all offseason that the Arizona Diamondbacks have been listening in on trading All-Star second baseman Ketel Marte. Silver Slugger the past couple of years, All-Star, the best second baseman in the game. And the Arizona Diamondbacks were listening in on him. People were wanting Ketel Marte on their team. It's not surprising seeing his stats, his all the things that he brings to the table. He is a guy that you want on your team. And there were rumors all over of who he would go to. I'm sure you've all heard rumors out there, anywhere from the Yankees, probably all the way to the Mets, the Mariners, any contender out there. But the Diamondbacks have decided they will not trade Ketel Marte this offseason. So teams out there who are trying, fans of contenders who thought you were going to get Ketel Marte, that is unfortunately not going to happen this offseason, unfortunately, as Ketel Marte is locked up for several years to come. Maybe next year, but as of right now, the Diamondbacks are holding on to their all-star second baseman. And this is where I really want to spend the remainder of our time on. And this is probably the biggest news that came out of this past week. This past weekend was the was the deadline for players to file for arbitration. Many players got raises, many players just settled with their teams, but there was one in particular that did not settle, and now they are heading for potentially the trial of the century. Now, it's not a usual trial that we would think of. It's an arbitration hearing, but I do believe that it will be the biggest arbitration hearing in a very long time. Tarik, Skubal, and the Tigers are heading for arbitration hearings. Now, before we get completely into this, Tarik Skubal, one of the best pitchers in the game, finished 2025 with a 2.21 ERA, 241 strikeouts, and 195 in the third innings. We all know what Tarik Skubal can do, and two-time Cy Young winner. We all know that Tarik Skubal is the best pitcher in the game. Now, with that being said, why is the best pitcher in baseball heading to an arbitration hearing if the team can't figure out why is the best pitcher in baseball heading to an arbitration hearing with his team? He's the best pitcher in baseball. The Detroit Tigers should be locking him up for whatever he wants. Tarik Skubal filed for $32 million this Thursday's deadline, and the Tigers filed at $19 million. Now, basing on what Skubal will probably make after 2026 in his free agency, depending on what happens with the 2027 MLB lockout, $19 million should be pennies. Tarik Skubal is seeking $32 million this offseason, at least in arbitration. The Tigers filed $19 million. That $13 million gap is the largest in salary arbitration history. This is according to an article by CBS Sports' Mike Axisa. Thank you, Max, for writing this article for us baseball fans out there. But it is the largest in salary arbitration history. And if Skubal does end up getting this number, it would be the richest arbitration salary ever, right in front of Juan Soto and the Yankees, who filed for $31 million in 2024. Now, as we said, he is the best pitcher in baseball. Why is he not? Why are they not giving him what he wants? Well, teams are sometimes very unwilling to give players money. I know this personally for a fact because the Washington Nationals are one of the lowest spending markets in baseball. That might change with the recent front office changes with Paul Taboni, Ani Colombi, Blake Butera. That might all be changing. However, teams are usually, small market teams are usually not willing to spend a lot of money on players. Now, I'm not saying the Detroit Tigers are a small market team. However, according to Max Axisa, the Tigers are a file and trial team. If they don't settle with their players, they're going to get to trial and they're going to figure out what they need to do to get it. Go for a multi-year deal, but they will not do a one-year deal. But Tarik Skubal, as a Scott Boras client, will be seeking a long-term multi-million-dollar deal. Now, what does this mean for the recent rumors of Tarik Skubal trade rumors to the Dodgers, to the Mets, to that other contender? To whatever other. Well, it's very well known that salary arbitration hearings do damage relationships between players and teams. This could mean that that Tarik Skubal wants to leave. However, if the Tigers do not find the right price, they will not trade him, being that he is the best pitcher in baseball. But it asks the question, why aren't they locking this guy up? Is he not part of the long-term deal? Are they actually planning on trading him? If they're not willing to give him what he wants to keep him around, is a trade imminent? The rumors are out there. The talent, the players are out there for the Tigers to try and get. But it all depends on what the Tigers GM ends up doing in the end. But Tarik Skubal and the Tigers heading for arbitration and what will be the trial of the century. That's all we got today for Baseball HQ. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Contact us, baseballhqpodcast@gmail.com. In future episodes, we are trying to get an MLB player on our podcast. Just stay tuned for that, and we will try to get him on, and be sure to listen in to that episode. Contact us, baseballhqpodcast@gmail.com. This is Baseball HQ. It's a beautiful day for a ball game.